although they're not connected to the internet, we don't know what that code is. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, yes, that is correct. Those systems, any system certified for use in the state of Oregon, and we go through a certification process that includes testing from a federally accredited lab. So we've been given, guarantees that certain tests have been conducted on these machines to ensure their strength and security.
And post-election, there's some process that's gone through to verify. For instance, some counties look at specific precincts or random precincts and count them by hand to see that they match. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, that is correct. By state law, the counties, all of the counties will have to go through some manual count of ballots that were cast in that election. And so that is an audit that is built into state law for the election process in all counties.
Okay. One of the things that concerns me and has concerned me for some time is the fact that we don't know the code that's in those machines. There's proprietary code that we're not allowed to look at. We as a state do not know what code is in the machines that are counting our ballots. As a former programmer and analyst, I know that it's quite possible to set up code which changes as it runs and changes back if it wants to. This is a possibility, and we have no way of knowing what the code inside of our counting machines are. We just do not know. What can we do to ensure that those things are not happening in some very specific cases where there's possible outcomes that certain people might want? How do we make sure that that doesn't happen?
So, Mr. Chairman, thank you. And again, as I opened with, the processes and the procedures, I think, are our best defense for that. And so in all of the counties, before they tally a single ballot for an election, they go through and do a test. Test that machine with an expected results outcome and run those ballots through and get that expected results. And then they can run that again anytime during the election period. They'll tally the live ballots, and then at the end, as we said, they'll run that test again, as well as confirm that with a hand count of a statistically significant, that's hard for me to say, I have to slow down, statistically significant sample, so that there can be confidence that we have checked and those processes have confirmed that the machines are counting the same during the process as they were when they were programmed with that initial test deck. And then again, with the physical security and needing access in order to make changes, we have logs of that and security protocols. We have cameras in every county except for one of those vote tally machines to make sure that during the election time when those live ballots are being scanned, that we're recording anyone that would have access there and be able to do anything to those machines.
Okay, finally, does your agency, do you have people who go out and work with the counties to make sure that they're following the procedures properly?
So, Mr. Chairman, we have, again, we have those procedures. We have committees that meet to agree on those procedures. I'm usually in 4 or 5 different counties throughout Election Day. I'll go to some of their pre-election tests just to make sure that those procedures are followed. They're public, open to the public, and invitations are put out so that interested parties can come and be a check on that process as well.
Okay, any questions? Yes, Senator Thatcher.
I've always kind of thought it would be a good idea, well, okay, backing up a little bit. A lot of conversations with the state CIO have taken place in this building, and he talks a lot about, well, I remember him talking a few times about white hat hackers, where they can test vulnerabilities. And I'm thinking, why wouldn't we employ something like that, at least occasionally, in the election system, simply to look at from registering to vote to, people who have already been, the whole process, just to test where any vulnerabilities may be, if any.
So, Mr. Chairman, Senator Thatcher, I appreciate that, and I think, any testing that we can do of that process would be valuable, especially if that builds confidence in the process. As usual, the question is funds and access, and especially with 36 different counties, and as Senator Riley said, a little bit different ways of doing things throughout. But there are 3 voting system vendors certified in the state and 6 different versions of those voting systems that we would have to be able to
Got it.
test.
Those are voting systems. I'm talking about the whole process from registering, receiving a voter registration card, whatever, method, if you're going to the DMV, whatever, signing up to vote. The receiving a ballot, voting the ballots, the whole thing. And then plus some of the vulnerabilities that may exist prior to some of the security measures that we have enacted in recent years that weren't in place when other people, many thousands of us, had registered to vote. So I'm not just talking about the what counts it. I'm talking about the whole thing, every little step. And obviously, it couldn't be every county, but just to kind of spot check here and there, where possible, a whole system test. Is that something you would have to have a law to do, or is that something that you could choose to do, providing there are funds for it?
Right. Mr. Chair, Senator Thatcher, I think we have the ability to test that today without a statutory change. Again, it's all on resources and available staff and tools. And sharing that responsibility because the election process is so shared between the state and the counties, with the state having the official voter registration file and data, online registration coming through the state, but then also the counties having those the vote tally systems, and being able to test those together as a system or separately. There's all kinds of testing that we could do that would just require more resources.
Other questions?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.